Very well. Welcome back to Trading Bell. This is the show that discusses all issues about business. And today we are speaking to chairperson of Diane Blair Investments, Jimnah Mbaru. You know him as a business mogul. And today we are talking about the life and times of the former president, Kibaki, whom he knew for almost 5 decades. We're going to be talking about that right here. Bona Chair, most welcome to Trading Bell.
Thank you very much indeed.
You had a friendship with former President Kibaki spanning 40 years, and this death must have affected you somehow. Talk to us about the fondest of memories you had with the former president.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed for inviting me for this show. But even before I start, let me take this opportunity to pass my condolences to the members of the family for the loss of their father, a dad. And a dad or a parent is a very, very important person to any child or to any children. And for that reason, I want to assure them that we are with them during these difficult times. And we hope that they'll be able to overcome the challenges. I think we might also want to say it's a apology to the country.
True.
Because this is a loss to the country, not just the family, but the country, to various friends, and even to the continent of Africa. There are many people who viewed Kibaki as a great role model. And for that reason, his passing away is a great loss, not to all these people, and as well as the country and the continent. Yes, it is true that I have known the late Kibaki, the former president, for a couple of decades. In fact, he even attended my wedding almost 40 years ago. So he's a person I have known for a reasonable time. And I can speak one or two things about his life and his role in the society. Maybe because we are talking about the stock market and his contribution. Let me say that there are many times when we used to discuss a few things, and because he was also quite a reserved man when it came to discussing matters of the nation. He really talked a lot, particularly when he was the vice president. He was quite quiet, and unless you are quite close to him, he did not open to you. But a great lesson all of us have learned from him was his style of managing the country, and maybe even generally dealing with the people. The most important thing was his readiness to delegate. Once he knew that people, leaders, were able to undertake an assignment, he delegated it to them and let them do the job without interfering with them, which is a very, very great asset for a leader, because he used to emphasize many, many times that there is nobody who can achieve great things alone. Neither can an individual transform a society or a country, neither can an individual run a business alone. And he always emphasized the importance of teamwork and working with other people. So yes, I can say with the authority that was the man I knew.
You say he was a very reserved person. Was he like that even in his personal life away from public service?
Well, it is difficult to know really what was how he was like when he was in with his members of the family. But publicly, and we knew him quite more publicly. I think he was very careful, and in whatever he said, he always chose his words very, very, very carefully. And it was very rare that something came out of his mouth without having thought through about it. And that was the image we all got in the eyes of the public. I think as a family man who was like any other normal human beings, he was very close to the family. He loved his wife, he loved his children. And he displays that commitment to the family all the time in many places, in public, etc., etc. Yes.
Amazing. President Kibaki was a career economist. Yes, he was a politician, but he was a career economist. And you were at some point the chair of the Nairobi Stock Exchange, today Nairobi Securities Exchange. Now, notably, is that he had a lot of contribution towards the Securities Exchange, of course, even inducting it into including other asset classes which are now traded into the Securities Exchange other than just stocks. He was passionate about that and he wanted to see the stock exchange grow. What are some of the notable contributions he made towards the stock exchange, particularly during your time as chair?
I think there are two things which need to be emphasized about the late President Kibaki. One of the things is as a thorough economist, is a person who was totally well-led in economics and who understood how societies function. He is a man who totally believed in the importance of the private sector. And he also emphasized that the government had a very, very important role in society, but to a very large extent is to enable the private sector to thrive. There are certainly no more responsibilities of our government because it collects taxes from individuals, the private sector, etc., etc. And the use of those resources was very, very important to him, how those resources were used, how use them efficiently for purposes of providing education, defense of the country, infrastructure for the society, and also to ensure that there are appropriate regulations which support the private sector and not hinder or impede the growth and development of the private sector.
Sure.
So it's very important to emphasize that he really believed in the importance of the private sector. And he went out of his way to support the growth of the private sector in many areas, in many of his pronouncements.
Amazing. Let's talk about two things as we close. So, around the time when he was in power, technology was coming in and a lot of things were happening. We saw ATMs come in and people were displaced out of jobs and the like. We are almost celebrating Labor Day. In relation to this, how do you think President Kibaki managed that technological advancement, also vis-a-vis human resource?
Let me put it that Kibaki believed in professionals.
Sure.
And even among the things he did not understand, he consulted the professionals who were more competent in those areas. And in the area of technology, he consulted, the people he had appointed to oversee the development, like Bitange Demo and the minister at that time. And as a result, they brought these cables, undersea cable, all the way from the Middle East to Kenya. We spent about $100 million. And that is what made Kenya start to become a major player in the technological sector. It linked Kenya through internet to the rest of the world. And that's why also Kenya has become a very, very important area for new innovations in the areas of technology. And the important thing, he listened to those who are devising them, who understood that sector more.
Okay, great. As we bring this to a close now, if there is any Kenyan who wants to learn from the life of former President Mwai Kibaki, what would be that one thing or a set of things, 3-4 things that any serious Kenyan should take from former President Kibaki's life?
I think one can say there are two things. One thing that whatever you want to do, you must be focused, and you focus on that. You focus on more and don't deviate. I think when Kibaki became a politician from 1960, 61, 62, he focused on his career as a politician to develop the country. And he rose to the pinnacle of that career, all the way being an assistant minister, vice president, and eventually the president. So it's very important to focus on what you are doing and spend a lot of time focusing on it. The second thing he used to emphasize that nobody can achieve great things alone. He believed in teamwork, and he always emphasized that you must be able to work with the people, which was very, very, very important. He also emphasized that the purpose of leadership, particularly political leadership, is to help the society to move forward. And he used to emphasize his leadership is an opportunity to serve and help the society to move forward. And not an opportunity for one to enrich oneself. So I think he had certain values which are very important. Anybody who wants to emulate or to move forward, he has to have some of those specific guiding principles. And he always used to emphasize that don't do too many things. Just if you had to focus on a limited number of things which you can achieve. In political leadership, at one time he said, a period of 5 years or 10 years for president is not a long time. So there are not many things you can achieve. So you have to choose 2 or 3 areas in which to focus in order to achieve something great.
Sure.
And for him, he told me, and he emphasized to a few others, that for him, the first thing he wanted was to deal with the illiteracy, and therefore he brought a free primary education. He said at the time we had another cancer, which was a problem to this country called corruption, and he created an anti-corruption commission, and he wanted to deal with it thoroughly and comprehensively. And finally he said there was another problem the country was experiencing, the disease called AIDS. And he said it's also very important to focus on eliminating this disease, because whatever achievement you get in economic development, it will be wiped out through expenses for maintaining these unhealthy and sick people.
Sure.
So he said, for him, those were some of the 3 things. He achieved many other things.
True.
Through delegation and working with other people, like changes of the constitution, creation of many other institutions, economic development. But those were also achieved through other people whom he was working with.
Amazing. Many thanks for your time. Thank you so much for documenting such a riveting life history with the president. By the way, did you play golf with him?
Well, yeah, by the time, I started out playing golf a long time ago. Yeah, we had several rounds with him. Yeah, and he was a very interesting golf player in the early days.
Okay.
Before then, he stopped playing. Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, there we have the life and times of former President Mwai Kibaki as told by the chair of Diane Blair Investments, Jimnah Mbaru, right here. We have been speaking to him on Trading Bell. I'm Brian Jojo. That's where we end it right here. You can connect with us. But this then is how the markets are looking like as we close the show.